are you really going to try that, Laura? Like, Vicky, does that really seem like something that you should be doing? You'll be so confident at that stage that it's going to roll off your back. So I think, I think there's something to that about saying, I am worthy of having a choice in my life. And it's not going to affect others, and it's going to actually just make me a better version of me. And I deserve that. So yeah, don't tell anybody at first. Just do your research.
We're your co-hosts, Vicky and Laura, and this is the Resilient Entrepreneurs Podcast, the ultimate guide for ambitious business founders and startups. Hear from business heroes who've faced unexpected challenges as we unpack how they slayed their dragon and reignite your instinct to conquer your dragon.
Shannon, welcome to a Resilient Entrepreneurs Podcast. We are excited to have you here today. I want to know, if I handed you a magic wand today, what would you do with it? What would you change in the world?
Oh, I think because I work with women, I'd want to keep it women centric and say to help women really step into their full potential and their full power and take that power and know that they're worthy to try something new and really live that life that they always dreamed of.
I'm curious, why is that important to you, Shannon, specifically?
Well, I always think about how we get this one life and, how are we going to spend our days? And I think about that quite often, and just every decision that I make is, okay, well, how is this going to be tomorrow or 10 years down the road? And I just think it's important to live the life that you want to live with no regrets at the end of the day. And I often think about my grandmothers and how they just weren't given the opportunities that I have been. And I often think about and wish that I had a chance to ask them what they wanted to do in their lives that maybe they never had a chance to. So, and I talk to a lot of women who just feel stuck and they're complacent. And so I'd wave that wand and just say, don't be scared, just step into your greatness and go for it.
Yes, we all need to remember that, don't we? I love that. So tell us, what's your second act? Well, maybe you need to tell us first what your first act was.
Sure. Yeah, my first act was my dream job. I was a television producer. I wanted to do that since I always say like 4 or 5 years old. I wanted to just be in Hollywood and I wanted to work on TV in any capacity. And I ended up becoming a television producer, and I did that for 16 years and loved every second of it. But then I became a mom, and we know how things shift. And I had a 3-year-old and a little one on the way. And I just realized I was missing so much. And I was working in Manhattan at the time, and I was making that commute home to the suburbs. It was 90 minutes each way. And I was like, why am I stressing to do this all the time? And it just felt like something wasn't aligned. And I wanted to figure out what else I could do in my second act. But yeah, that was my first act of just really fulfilling my dream. And so I said, okay, you know what? I did it. Let's celebrate that, and let's go on to the next adventure.
How many times do we see this happening? Women, successful corporate careers, climbed the ladder, broke ceilings, all the stuff. And then we realize where we're really meant to be. Then we switch and launch ourselves into an entrepreneurial journey, which it is very much a journey. And you did that too, Shannon. So without much of a plan, from what I understand, you launched yourself into entrepreneurialism. So tell us, what was that like?
It was an adventure and a journey. Like you said, it was me figuring out and taking probably a good year or so after I decided to walk away from television to figure it out. So I had my newborn at home with me, and I was just figuring out what else I can do, but feeling those pressures of, I have to bring money into the family, and what am I going to do, and what will people think, and all of the things. And I started really looking at my skills and what I had done as a producer. And I started thinking, well, I can produce something else with this. I know how to produce. I've done it for big budget, multi-million-dollar shows. Let me do it for my own life. And so I figured, what better to do than into entrepreneurship and opening my first business. So I decided to open a franchise that taught STEM education to kids. So that was my first business. And it was all inspired by my 3-year-old who built with Legos and loved just imagining things. Yeah. And so I opened that business, and I saw within the first year or so that I was right, that my skills really did help me figure out how to build this business and get it seen, and marketing and, PR, and just getting out there and explaining what I could do for people in my community. So that was my first step into entrepreneurship. And once I found success there, I just wanted to keep going. I loved it. And I wanted to just tell other women too that you can do this, because once you have a family and you get so high up, like you said, in our careers, it just doesn't always feel the same way as it did in our 20s. At least for me,
Yeah.
for sure, it didn't.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I think a lot of women can relate to that because we have big life shifts, especially going from, before kids to after kids. That's such a huge shift. Or then there's another stage where maybe our kids are out of the way, but then we're looking after our parents or we're looking after other people. And it's that sort of natural need to nurture and take care of more than just ourselves that I think is quite maybe unique to women. Do you agree? Do you see that a lot?
I do, because I feel like, and even to use me as an example, my husband was a television producer, or still is, but he wasn't thinking about switching, right? He wasn't thinking about what to do. It's always on the women. And yeah, and I felt like, okay, why is it on the women? And we put so much pressure on ourselves to take care of everyone around us. And then you just feel like you're not doing everything full force and perfect, right? So it just, where you start to just put so much pressure and you just say, oh, I'll suck it up till one day. And yeah, it's unfortunate that we do that, but
Yeah, and we sacrifice so much in the
yeah.
process, often for ourselves. I'm speaking totally for myself, but that sacrifice, whether it's sleep or maybe some of our ambition, or sometimes we feel like we're sacrificing time with our kids or whatever it is, it always feels like it comes with sacrifice. How do we get out of that? Like, even if it's just that mindset.
Oh, yeah. I think it's really trying to take that pause and turn inwards and talk to yourself and say, am I happy? What doesn't feel right? And we don't do that because we're so busy running the race and doing all of the things. And I think when I had that time free to really ask myself how I was doing and what I wanted, that's where the mindset shift started, and where I said, oh, okay, yeah, I can do something else. Life isn't over. I can take what I've learned and bring it over here and do something else.
I'd love to bring it back to Laura's comment about sacrifice. And Shannon, do you have any thoughts about that concept, that as Laura rightly said, in my opinion, mindset? Because I'm of the opinion that we choose how we react to things and we decide what meaning we give to things. So if a woman in this space is feeling like she's sacrificing something in order to have the dream, or sacrificing the dream in order to be the wife or mother, what can you help her with in a mindset shift that helps her realize she can have it all?
That's such a great question, Vicky. And I think it's looking at what you've accomplished up until now. And sometimes we're so close to it that we don't realize that what we've done in our career, in our life up until now, is really important and unique. And when we start looking at that, we can start thinking about what else is left. And maybe we can hang our hat up on the shelf and say, we've accomplished that. Let's go to the next thing. Or we can say, I am worthy of trying something new. I don't have to stay in the same lane. I think it's a lot of times, because we're sacrificing so much, is to really say, am I worthy enough of trying something new, or is it a selfish act? Because a lot of times women will say to me, well, doesn't everyone hate their job? Why should I do this and cause this chaos in my family? Should I just wait until that perfect time where I can focus on myself? So I think when you can have that mindset reframe of, no, now is the perfect time, because if you start working towards something strategically that is going to make you feel more fulfilled as a woman, a partner, a mother, then you're going to be happier in all those relationships. And it all comes together in that way. And it doesn't have to cause chaos. You're really just making yourself become a better version of you.
Right. And then as a better version of you, you're turning up for all your loved ones in a better space with a better mindset. in a better way. And I think you just mentioned fulfilled there. I wonder like how many people are stuck in places where they're not fulfilled, but they're just bringing them the paycheck, doing what they have to do, ticking the boxes and moving through life. I think a lot of people are there and are stuck there. So what's the first step if you're listening right now, or someone's listening right now and they're stuck? They know they're not living that purpose-driven life they're called to, but they don't know how to get out, of that sort of corporate, what do they say, golden handcuffs?
Yes.
What do they do? What do people do?
I often say start letting yourself think about what you would do outside of the box. Just journal or take a piece of paper and just write down, what would you do if you could? What is that thing that you've been thinking about since you were a little girl? And start writing it down and just researching. I always say learn before you leap. And doing that research is going to do one of two things. It's either going to make you more confident about wanting to go in that direction, or you're going to research a new business or a different job or a new opportunity and say, you know what, that's not what I thought it was. I can cross that off my list and now I'll know. But you don't want to just wonder later in life. So you can really start doing those little action steps now. And it can be silly. It can be, I want to learn to dance and I want to teach dance lessons to kids, say. And by doing that research, wow, maybe you can do that on the side. Maybe you can do that once a week after school when you have your parents watching the kids. There's ways of figuring it out and seeing how that dream of yours or that aspiration that will fulfill you can fit into your life now in a really seamless way. But start doing that research. Just write it down. That makes it a little bit tangible. And then just start looking into it. And you'll be amazed at how much you can find online. We're so fortunate in that way. And then that will just lead you to more confidence in either direction.
And what I'm loving about this conversation is that the word choice comes to mind. Laura was talking about when we feel stuck. You're talking about write down the options. Just imagine the thing that you might want to do. It suddenly opens up your world to choice. And when we feel and know that we have choice, we can't feel stuck at the same time. What do you reckon?
Hey there, sorry for the interruption, but if you're a woman entrepreneur ready to raise your profile, expand your reach, and start being seen as the expert you already are, we have a challenge for you. Vicky and I have created a free guide called the LinkedIn to Latte Method. Check it out in the link below. It's designed especially for women who are done playing small and are ready to attract opportunities, clients, and increase your visibility. No tech overwhelm, no awkward call DMs, just clear, authentic strategy that works. So download the free LinkedIn to Latte guide below, take the challenge, and start turning your brilliance into real opportunities. Now, back to the episode.
Absolutely. And what's scary about choice, though, is that sometimes you think, well, what will others think? Or what if someone won't support me? Or that's not who I am now. So I often tell other women, keep it close to the chest. Keep it close while you do your research. And you don't have to tell your partner or your best friend or your parents of what you're thinking about venturing into until you've done your research. Because then those naysayers or someone else who might say, are you really going to try that, Laura? Like, Vicky, does that really seem like something that you should be doing? You'll be so confident at that stage that it's going to roll off your back. So I think, I think there's something to that about saying, I am worthy of having a choice in my life. And it's not going to affect others. And it's going to actually just make me a better version of me. And I deserve that. So don't tell anybody at first. Just do your research.
That is fantastic advice. And I think that everyone, if you didn't quite catch that, rewind and have another listen. Do it on the sly, do your own thing. And then when you know that's what you want to do, share it with the world. And I think this touches on another part of what we talk about with people being thought leaders. Mm-hmm. It's how you show up in the world. It's how you present yourself, your ideas, who you are, what you believe in, what you stand for. It's the way you do it that it determines how it's received. And I think if you've done your homework on it, you know you're confident and sure that this is what you're going for, you already have that excitement within you. You've created the energy. And then when you share it with people, they pick up on that energy and they're like, wow, this makes you shine. I'm so excited for you that you found something. And it's the same in business. When
Yeah.
we're convinced, we have our own conviction from the inside, we can see our own greatness, we get to show it to the world and it lands as we intend.
Yes.
And I would say on that too, what you're talking about, the naysayers, like I will guarantee anyone who's not an entrepreneur yet, but thinking about jumping, that you will have naysayers. People will tell you, you need a secure job. No, that's so risky. What happens if you lose your health insurance? You're going to hear it all. And it's going to come from the people you least expect it to come from. So I think when you know that and you can prepare for that, and like, I love that advice you give, just like research, get so confident in what you know about what you want to do that you can share it and you can, what we talk in marketing speak, pitch it
Yes.
in a way that they can't help but go, wow, that's really cool. Never thought of that. Or that's amazing. I want to support you. It's going to be the people that you don't expect who are going to support you. So find the right circles, find entrepreneurial groups, find a coach, a mentor, people who've been there, people who've also done crazy things, get in around those circles of people. And that makes the transition way easier. We know from working with so many people that it's just the way it is. And it's a scary leap into entrepreneurship, especially if you've reached a certain level of success, because you have all those doubts. Can I be successful myself? If it's
Yeah.
just me.
Yeah. And I just want to piggyback off of that is that I think when you come from that's a reminder that you're coming with all of this experience and skill set. You're not starting from ground zero. And I love talking to people about their story, their career story of, okay, you're starting this business. Well, why are you the best person to start this business? And you can weave your story about what you've done for 15 plus years and bring it over into that story. And I know you both know that very well when it comes to the marketing thought leader aspect of being an entrepreneur. There's so much to it that can create that story and that brand to make you successful right off the bat.
And to remind yourself how successful you are. I have a favorite technique or approach called the brag book. And it's very much just about reminding yourself how flippin' good you are and how many amazing things you've done in your life. And the brag book is a special place to go when you're feeling a little bit, a little bit tentative or a little bit lacking confidence. You just flip back through those pages and you look at your life in front of you, all the amazing things you've done. And every time you think of a new thing, you write it in. And it's just a beautiful way to collect evidence of how good we really are. Because we forget those things. We just say, oh, yeah, that was that thing. Move on to the next.
That's a beautiful idea. I've never heard of that. I love that. That's a great thing to even teach kids to start, at a young age of just write down all of your accomplishments and you have it all there to feel good about yourself on the days that you need it. That's beautiful, Vicky. I love that.
What about your book? Let's talk about your book. What was that like? Writing your first book, have being published for the first time, and what does it mean for the way you serve people?
Mm. I think I looked at that as yet another kind of aspiration that I've always had, being a big reader and always saying I've written for television, writing for my blogs as a business owner, but a book was really different. And I was excited. And I actually set out to start writing fiction as kind of a hobby on the side. And I said, you know what? I want to write my book. Start your second act. It's all about, starting over, which is what I teach and work with women about. And I thought this would be a great way to put this out in the world as an easy resource for people who won't have the opportunity to work with me one-on-one. They can get all of my coaching and ideas and inspiration in this book. And so that was my main focus in writing. And it was really cathartic because I talked a lot about my career transition and the fact that I did walk away from Taylor Swift and these people that were huge in my career because I wanted to be with my kids. And so I really was vulnerable and talking about that and putting, lots of fun stories about the entertainment industry in there and just putting it all together to be this resource for people. So it was really fantastic to actually get it out into the world. And the reception has been amazing. So I'm very happy.
So what's next? Are you going to be doing some speaking gigs out of that? Are we planning on getting any stages?
Yes, I have been speaking. And yeah, and I think it's just another way to get more clients to, when I am speaking on stages, to have something that, once they connect with me on stage, they can go and grab the book and really learn a lot more and dive deeper. So yeah, I'm using that as just a tool that's that, extra business card when you're going around and guesting and speaking. So yeah, I'm excited. And that's definitely what's on my agenda for the next year or so, is just to get on more stages and pitch my TED Talk and all of that kind of stuff.
Yes. Okay. If you're going to do a TED Talk, pitch it to us. What are you going to do your TED Talk on? I want to know.
Oh, I have several that I've been pitching, but one is like forget the bucket list, check all of your boxes in life instead. That's one that I speak on a lot. Is just about like, you've got this life, let's check all the boxes, and how bucket lists are just things that you put off, whereas a life list, checking them off is now. So that's one, and then there's another one really about television and what television led me to as I produce my own life now. So.
Ooh, produce your own life. I'm stealing that. That's so good. No, just kidding. But produce your own life. I think that's a quote. I mean, I think that's how we should all be thinking about, how do we produce this one life that we have? The way we want to see it, the way we want to show up. How do we do it with impact? And you say a lot in everything about purpose. So what does purpose like mean to you, and why is it important to have one?
I think your purpose is why you're here, your non-negotiables. Like, I am moving into entrepreneurship so I can spend more time with my kids, or because you want to be able to travel more, whatever your non-negotiables are. And it's your purpose of what you want to have accomplished at the end of the day. And yeah, I think my purpose is just to show my children that you don't have to stick to one path when you're older, that you can do a bunch of different things and become that more fuller version of yourself. And I think I'm definitely showing them that. And it's not like a very straight path. Mine is definitely crooked and twisty, but I wouldn't have it any other way. And I think that's just a great way to look at life and to teach the younger generation that you can do that too. It's not the way it was when our parents were going through school and through their careers. So yeah, I think that that's my purpose. And I think everyone to have that purpose of that arrow that you are following in your life, and make sure that as you go down that path, everything that you're choosing to do reflects your purpose at the end of the day.
Yeah. Oh, well, I think we're very aligned in that, because I too am very passionate about young people understanding entrepreneurship as an option. I think the world, these young people, you and I both have teenagers, we talked about before we started recording, is that they're coming into a very different world than we did. A lot has changed and is going to change in the next 5 to 10 years. There's going to be jobs and things that exist now that won't exist, and things we can't even conceive of that will exist. And they're going to have to navigate a very interesting future to come. And I think them finding their purpose earlier is going to be more important than ever, because they're going to have to take a different route. The traditional way to get to success is kind of falling away, and other opportunities are opening up, and hugely in the entrepreneurial space. I mean, obviously we speak to entrepreneurs all the time. We're always around it, so we're very biased towards entrepreneurship, of course. But my son is an entrepreneur, and I've seen what he's learned and the person he's grown into, and his confidence soar because he's just built this business, a very simple small business, into something that's growing huge. And it's just so exciting to see that. So I'm right with you. Like, let's get these young people learning, because often, and I mean, your whole thing is about second act, and often we do go into entrepreneurship much later in life. I think statistics say the average entrepreneur starts at like 62. I found that staggering, because I was like, really? Most people don't start it young because they've, taken the traditional path, and then they decide, this is not my purpose. Life changes. We have kids, we have parents, get sick, things happen, and then we have to make a change. So there's lots of different paths. There's no right way or wrong way. I think we learn so incredible much about ourselves and about our purpose. But I love talking about purpose. And I think a lot of people get scared of that word, though. I think there's some, like, I don't know what my purpose is, that some people struggle with. because they feel it has to be some huge one flashing red, light at the end of the tunnel that they've got to get to, without realizing sometimes it's just the journey might be the purpose. That's my opinion on that, my take on it. But what do you think?
I think you're right, because I think sometimes they think it's some big goal, like the purpose and goal are the same words. And when you were saying that, I was thinking about Oprah and her purpose of building schools in Africa, right? That's her big goal or purpose. And it doesn't have to be that grandiose. It can be, as I was saying, just your purpose of how you want to show up and how you want to lead your life and make those decisions along the way. And you want to leave the place better for your children, or, whatever, or just know that at the end of the day, you've lived the life that you've wanted to. I think that's a purpose. It can just be living your purpose in, hiking every day. If you love nature, it can be something so unique to you. It doesn't have to be this huge goal that you set out to achieve, because that can be scary pressure wise.
Yeah, very intimidating. I
Yeah.
agree.
I'm sitting here listening, thinking, relating, and as Laura was talking about people who feel lost, that they don't know their purpose. That was me not that long ago. And it troubled me. It troubled me. I would run myself in circles mentally, just saying, I feel like there is something more. There's something else. There's a calling, but I don't know what it is. There's a waft of the air, but how do I find it? I always thought that the purpose was an external thing that I had to find. And I'm not sure I even have the answer now, but I do feel that purpose starts on the inside, as I think you're saying, Shannon. It's tapping into the little voice that you get to ask, what do you want? What makes you happy? What brings you joy? What fulfills you? And I think learning how to listen to the voice on the inside is probably the step towards understanding what your purpose is. What do you reckon?
Oh, I think that's beautifully said. And it's true, because there's so much noise and we don't stop to listen to that inner voice. And it can just be as simple as you said, and how you want to show up, how you want to feel every day, and how you want to act towards those around you that you love, and just have that be your purpose, feeling like you're alive in your skin every day, right? That's got to be an amazing feeling. So yeah, it can be something just small inside. And I agree with you that I think we all probably are figuring that out as we get older and we change, and our purpose can change as well. I love the symbol of an arrow, and I always say, like, okay, let's follow that and that keeps you on that path, or everything that you're doing can lead to your purpose. So just kind of, yeah, thinking of it as an ever evolving idea.
Mm. And how do we bring this conversation about purpose into thought leadership? Because I, for one, believe they are linked.
I think that purpose is very much connected to that, because as a thought leader, you are trying to get your message across to people who need to hear it. And you're doing it in ways such as a podcast or a book or speaking on stages. And you're trying to reach people in a different way to fulfill your purpose and also hopefully inspire theirs. And there's different ways to do that, I think, as a thought leader, is to figure out where you're needed most and where your audience is. And I mostly speak to women's empowerment kind of groups and things, but I recently got asked to speak at a corporate conference and about women who are a minority in this organization. And they were like, I don't want you to make them leave the organization and go start a business, but can you talk about them feeling like they've found their purpose within the organization? So I found a way to do that in a way that's going to directly impact those women. And it's a message that I think the organization wants them to get, but one that they would need to hear as well. So I think it's about knowing how to convey a message or inspiration or advice to a particular audience.
Yeah. It takes a lot of resilience. It takes a lot of resilience. That's why we call this podcast a Resilient Entrepreneurs Podcast, because we know just being an entrepreneur is incredibly resilient practice, because it's not an easy journey. And I'd like to know, what does resilience mean to you? How would you define it?
That is a word that I think I actually write about it in my book because it's carried me through television production and working in that industry, is that you have to just say, okay, I'm going to pick myself up. I'm going to go find that next job. And so resilience just is something that I've always tried to embody, because it is just picking yourself up and dusting off and going to the next thing. In the production world, it's very contract based, gig based. So now as an entrepreneur, it's the same way. I have to get my clients, I have to get my next speaking event, whatever it is. And you have to be resilient to do that, because there's not going to be yeses behind every door or every phone call. And so you just have to say, I know what my purpose is. I know what I have to offer, and I'm going to put a smile on my face and I'm going to keep going. So I think resilience is everything. I absolutely love the name of your podcast. And it's such a great reminder that no one is perfect. And you just have to keep going and know that it's a new day. And let's just, let's keep on keeping on, and be that resilient person that you are deep down.
I love that. That you know you are deep down.
Mm.
That's exactly right, isn't it? We all have the resilience within us. We just sometimes forget where to look for it.
Easier said than done a lot of times. It's in there.
Do you have a one go-to that, when you know that resilience needs to kick in, it's like, that didn't go the way you'd have planned or expected, hoped? Do you have a go-to? Is there one practice or a thought that you bring in, or?
The first thing I do, whether it's something that doesn't go as planned or just a bad day or anything, is to close the laptop. Is just to say, okay, I'm not going to solve this or feel better in the next 10 seconds. I'm going to close the laptop. I'm going to walk away. I'm going to pet the dog. I'm going to go for a walk, read a book, get out of my head, and then come back. Because as we all know, it's never as bad as it seems when you return to the problem later. So yeah, I think just taking that break, again, taking that pause to center yourself, and then you'll have a clearer head to figure it out a little bit later.
Yeah. That's what we all need. That's such a good reminder. That's such a good reminder for everyone out there that's dealing with something, that's facing a challenge, that's facing a rejection, that's hearing the naysayers tell them that they're crazy to go get a safe job, and all of that. So we all have to build up our resilience as entrepreneurs and create these amazing purpose-filled lives for ourselves. Like, we're responsible for that. And as hard as that can sound sometimes and hard to hear, it's so important to realize, like, we have that responsibility. I like to say entrepreneurship is all on us, and it's all on us. So, but we get to build and we get to create. And as women, we get to create spaces that suit us, with our challenges, with all the things we talked about, motherhood or nurturing, caring for other people, or wherever spaces we may be in, we get to create them for ourselves and build the type of life that works for us at the time that we're in. And as crazy as the journey is, as hard as it is, it's the most wonderful, incredible, special thing to be part of. And talking to women like you, Shannon, make it even better. And it's my favorite thing to do, is talk on this podcast to incredible, strong women like you, who are now giving back and helping other women to take charge of their lives and to have a second act and go on and produce something incredible in their lives and their businesses and their families, and have massive success. And that's what I wish for everybody listening, and especially for you, Shannon. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's been an incredible conversation.
Thank you for having me. I love chatting with you guys. Thank you.